So glad to be at the house, at home, once again, and just to release what God's been not only saying, but doing in my life. When the message is incarnated in you, that has the power to transform you, at the time that you deliver the message, it will bring transformation. And I've been through a process of transformation. You should say, thank you, Jesus. If my wife would be here, she would say, hey, man. Amen. Amen. Thank you, sweetheart. Pastor Fernando asked me that before I jump in the Word of God, that I just give a short report of what God has been doing through our ministry. This is the month of August. This is the 8th month, and we've already in Argentina planted 7 churches. 7 churches. Yes, give a hand to the Lord, and give a hand to yourself because you are part of that. You have been supporting our ministry for close to 30 years or probably more. I don't know now. And we're doing this all over the world. We're in 16 different nations. We're more than 500 churches and counting. And every month we plant a church. Every month somewhere, sometimes 2, 3. But in Argentina at least, that's been tremendous. And also this year we have been involved very intentionally, very strong, helping our brothers and sisters in the Ukraine, where I am going again next week. We've started our helping those that left the country, in the beginning of the war. There were thousands and millions, 6 million people left the country. Most of them went to Poland. And that's where our ministry started helping them, and it's based actually in Warsaw. But then we realized that the European Union and many organizations, the United Nations, were bringing so much help to those people outside of the Ukraine that they were already flooded with help. So what we started is just collecting those leftovers, putting them on trailers, and bringing them inside of the Ukraine for those that couldn't leave. Presently, we are feeding more than 6,000 people a day. A day. And so I'm going again next week. Dr. Ricky Perry is a leader in our ministry, as Fernando is also part of our board. He's also already in Warsaw, moving gears there. And my brother Pablo, another leader, is going in September. What we want is to assure that the provision for the winter, it's in place. Our warehouses and all of that, the winter doesn't look good. They have shut down all the pipe, as you all know, of gas. So we want blankets and caloric food and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to be there. And where I go is, if Pastor Fernando knows, it's a dangerous area in the very, very, very south where war is taking place right now. So please cover me, as you always do, in prayer. And please pray for that nuclear plant in Zaporizhia. They're fighting over that plant like it's like a monkey with a grenade, man. It's not going to do good to the world. It's not going to do to me. I'm going to come back shining like Moses from the mountain if that thing explodes. Okay. War is horrible. It's horrible. You don't want to be there. We're not wired to see things I've saw. Devastation, dead bodies. The integration of family, society, schools closed, universities, no children, husbands in the front line fighting, and wives who have to pick up the little kids and leave. Men cannot leave the country because they need to stay to fight. Churches empty of Christians. Empty. Shut down. But that's not what I really want to convey. There was one thing that really struck me, and I think it changed me, or is still changing me. When you're there and you hear the alarm and the sirens, it means that some bombing is going to take place, and you have to find shelter, and all of a sudden you start hearing those booms, booms, booms. You're going to pray, you like it or not. You are a man or woman of prayer or not, you're going to learn to pray, really. But thank God, I love prayer. And prayer is a style of life for me. I enjoy prayer. Prayer for me is not just an exercise, religious exercise. Prayer, it's a path that you walk. Start walking the path of prayer until you find and have an encounter with the one who is prayer, the spirit of supplication that the Bible teaches. So I like walking that path. So either if I'm on a plane, if I'm working, I just try to be in communion with God. So of course, as I was there, I tried to do that. And to my surprise, I just hit a wall. There was nothing. Probably I found what I call the emptiness in the heavenlies. And then I realized how blessed we are in Argentina and in America, that we are surrounded with so much faith, surrounded by the presence of God even when we don't realize. But when I tried to pierce in the heavenlies, I just couldn't. There was nothing I could grab. There was not those crutches I used, to walk in my spiritual walk sometimes, like the encouragement of my brother, and those moments here of worship and the promises of God, and to be in a place where God is, and it's easy to tap into the spiritual realm. And I thought, what was going on? Not only that, this heaviness, it was so bad, so ugly, this dark cloud. And it was every single time for all those 10 days I was there was nothing. I thought when we go to church, because now churches are packed, but not with Christians, with people. Because, number one, because we feed them. They come to church and they take their package, their basket for the week. And number two, because they're scared. But even in the services, they start, when the few brothers or sisters, mainly, they start singing, everybody's looking like to nowhere. And I started repenting. I said, God, forgive me all the times I've despised those atmosphere of faith, this freedom that we have in our nation, and my brothers and sisters that call me and send a WhatsApp to encourage me, that I can read the Bible, those moments of worship that I can turn on in my car, the worship, and just be in your presence. And actually, I left the Ukraine and I went to a conference in France. And I had to repent to the French people because we have this conference every year. And the last few times I've been over there, I told them, I said, you French, you better find God, because every time I come here, there is less of God. Actually, I used to say that all over Europe. This time I arrived there, the little bit they have of God, it was like an ocean of love and the presence of the God. I said, guys, you have a lot of God here. If you will only know how much you carry, if you will only know the deposit that is inside of you and how much God's given you through these years. So God began to speak to me, and He said, Juan Carlos, all these that I brought you here to see and to watch is to show you what happens when God is removed from a place, from an atmosphere, from a nation, from a family. And He brought me to Hebrews chapter 1 and verse 3 that speaks about Jesus. And it says, Jesus being the brightness of the glory, that means of the glory of the Father, and the express image of the Father's person, and upholding all things by the word of His power. And God said to me, listen, it is Jesus that upholds, that sustains, that keeps it together, every single thing. You remove that factor from your equation and you will see what disintegration is. Actually, this word upholding is the word erneko, that means to put together, to bear or carry in a very wide applications, literally and figuratively. To be, to bear, to bring, to carry, to come, to be driven. Jesus upholds all things. When it says all things, it's talking about all things. I mean, and He holds this world in His hand. Not being for the presence and the power of the word of Jesus, everything will start floating apart. Like if you're in the space, without the gravity. Even every cell and every part of you will start moving. One hand will go that way, your head will go that way, this other hand will go somewhere else. It is written in the same book of Hebrews, also in chapter 11, in verse 3, that by faith we understand that the worlds, with an S, the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which are visible. Genesis 1, in the beginning God created. Then something happens. And we have darkness and we have chaos. And the disappearance and disintegration of that creation that started even before verse 1, chapter 1. How many of you know there is Genesis -1 somewhere there in Ephesus? But the Holy Spirit begins to move. And the first thing you hear is the voice of God. Let there be. Oh, the moment He said, let, the whole universe stopped. Because that was the word of God. And He said, let there be light. And you know what happened? Light showed up. There was light. But listen, they were not sun, stars, moon, all of they were created in the fourth day. So what was this first light? Well, John got it right, the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God and with God. In Him there was life, and that life was the light of men. You know what the Father said in the beginning? The first phrase of the Father was, "Let there be Jesus." It couldn't be order in the middle of the chaos without Jesus, because it's the power of His Word that upholds and glue everything together. Let there be Jesus. If we're going to continue with this creation, if we are going to bring whatever's been already created into order, we need that one factor that keeps everything together. And it's more than a name, a religious name. It's the marvelous, eternal, powerful, almighty name of the Son of God, Jesus Himself. You remove that, and then you will start enjoying things that are horrible, horrible, horrible. That's why I love to be in this house, because I can see Jesus everywhere. Even in the most indifferent people or person that was probably dragged to church today. Those teenagers like me, when I was a teenager, my mother was going to tell me, Juan Carlos, you going to go to church or you going to go to church? What you want? And then my father, he will tell me, or either God touches you or I will touch you. You choose. Then I will be there. But many times I will sit like, well, but if you're here, it's because there is a little tiny bit of faith. Not being the case, you wouldn't even been here. You're full of Jesus. Sometimes you don't realize. And if you didn't come that overflowing, with that overflowing feeling of just being seated next to the person that is filled with Jesus, because He is in the midst of us. When 2 or 3 we get it together, you are going to be filled with Him. If you go with me to Colossians chapter 1, really pay attention to this verse. Colossians chapter 1 keeps on speaking about Jesus. It says, He is, Jesus, is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. I just told you that. For by Him all things, and all means all. By Him all things were created that are in heaven or that are on earth, visible or invisible, whether thrones, dominions, principalities, or powers, all things were created through Him and for Him. And He is before all things, and in Him all things consist. That word consist is the word sinistao, that means to set together, to constitute, to commend, to make, to place together, to set in the same place, to bring and band together, to stand with or near, to send one, to set one with another, by way of presenting or introducing him into, comprehend, to put together by way of composition or combination. This is pure science here. To teach by combining and comparing, to show, to prove, to establish, to exhibit, to put together again. Unite parts into one whole, to be composed of. All of that means that word, consist. He is the divine glue Not being for His presence, not being for His reality in your life, in your home, in our nations, we will see things falling apart. And if you feel that things are falling apart, it's because, we have different areas in our lives. That's what we need. Speak Jesus, like we were singing. We need the intervention of Jesus. I was reading an article, and I want to read this with all of the respect to the scientists, friends of mine. I have a lot of scientists that are friends of mine. Actually, my brother is a scientist. He worked for the CDC years in Atlanta. And thank God I express my gratitude to all of the scientists in the house. And I just love people that makes me think, And in the last service, there was a scientist, and he said, brother, you're right. You're just right. And I thought he came to rebuke me. So I'm just quoting from a scientist magazine, okay? I just read Hebrews 1:3 that says that Jesus upholds. It's in the present tense. It's not that He upholded or will uphold. It's happening right now. As you're seated here. He upholds all things. And this is an amazing statement. Saying that He is the one who is keeping things going right now. Stanford University is the site of a linear accelerator. That's a huge, large machine. A mighty 2-mile-long atom smasher. That's what they use it for. It is a great lever with which scientists tries to pry the lid or lift up the lid of the secrets of matter and discover what is in the miniature world of the atom. And they opened the atom and they found the neutron. They opened the neutron and they found the proton. And they kept looking at it. Linear accelerator scientists have discovered a complexity they've never dreamed of. And they have found particles that they cannot even invent enough names for. But one thing they are consistently discovering is that there is some strange force that holds everything together. And I invite my scientist brothers once in a while to read the Bible. Maybe you will find some names for those things that you already discovered. It's really, this is not a scientist, I wouldn't even dare stand in front of them, but if this will be a symposium, is that a word? Of scientists, I would just tell them, science should lead you to God. Real science. They do not know what to call it. They do not know how to identify it. They talk about a kind of cosmic glue. It's not a cosmic glue, it's a divine glue that holds things together. Isn't it fascinating that here in the Word of God we have the exact kind of terminology used for that cosmic glue? His name is Jesus. When I saw Pastor Johnny walking towards me today, Johnny, saw you walking towards me, and I said, Jesus. Come on, Jesus. Because you're in one piece, my brother. You have been in church proclaiming that name. Then the enemy wanted to disintegrate everything in you, in your family, in your body, in your head, everywhere. Couldn't. There is one that's sustaining you and upholding you and keeping you together. His name is Jesus, the one you chosen to serve. Remove Jesus from your life and you will see the pulverization of even your particles. The disintegration. And this is what, in a very subtle way, the enemy, well, not too subtle lately, tried to do in our nation. Remove Jesus from your language. Remove Jesus from the schools. Remove Jesus from the public squares. Remove Jesus from our Congress. Remove Jesus. And what do we have? We have an Uvalde. Thank God, we still have a lot of Jesus. You are the carrier of that heavenly, divine glue. And our mission and commission on this earth is just to go everywhere releasing Jesus, releasing. You know, I can give you some explanations like why made that happen in the Ukraine. One thing I know is because the church left. They left. I mean, they tried to spare their lives. Men couldn't leave, but they are in the front line. They need to fight. And now they're full of people who don't know Jesus. And the few clergy and pastors that are left with some sisters are trying to put together all these baskets of food for thousands of people to come and eat, and we speak to them, we talk to them, you know, and they, or either for because they're scared or they need to think about the other side or eternity, when you invite them, they receive the way of salvation. But I was expressing to one of the apostles, friend of mine, I said, we need the church back quickly in the Ukraine. To help these people, to disciple these people, and to help them to have their own fellowship and communion with the one that would uphold and hold everything together. And this is not only true in the physical universe, including our bodies and all that we are, but it is true of all the other forces and powers in the universe. Physical, psychological, social, spiritual, whatever. He is in charge of everything. Everything was created in Him. It's like the Father was, either He was Jesus the one, sticking His hand in the sun, in the Creator, and saying, okay, here is a moon, here is a star, here we have a tree, everything was created in Him and for Him. Where do you think He got Adam and Eve? Because Adam and Eve were not even created in the garden. Read the account. They were placed in the garden. There is not even purpose for a human being existing without Jesus, because of that He is our DNA. And one day everything is going to be back to Him, reunited with Him. But right now He's upholding everything. And when that divine glue is ignored or is removed for several reasons that it will take me maybe another hour to really speculate, because I don't know everything. God is working this with me. then there is room for darkness. Darkness that I used to have a very, very light idea of. I used to say, well, darkness is the absence of light. And the problem with that is that I've already written that in a book of mine. Now I don't know what to do with it. Darkness is more than that. Darkness is a substantive. It's something real, touchable. It's thick. Actually, there is an astronaut, former astronaut friend of Fernando and I. And one day I asked him about it. And he said, you should pay attention to what dark matter is. Dark matter is the mysterious stuff that fills the universe, but no one have ever seen. Over 80% of the matter in the universe is made up of material scientists have not seen. It's called dark matter. And we only assume it exists because without it, the behavior of stars, planets, and galaxies simply wouldn't make sense. Here is what we know about it, or rather we think we know. Dark matter is completely invisible. It emits no light or energy and thus cannot be detected by conventional sensor or detectors. The key to its elusive nature must lay in the composition, in its composition, and we know. Scientists think. Yeah, when that dark matter is composed with devils, when that dark matter that comes our way is composed with destruction and sickness, but there is no room for that when Jesus is shining, because darkness did not prevail against light. And when it says did not prevail, it's because there was a fight. They pushed, but light came in and pushed them away. Bring Jesus to your life. Bring Jesus to your marriage. Bring Jesus to your family. Speak Jesus in your nation. Speak Jesus in your work. Speak Jesus in your streets and schools and everywhere. You just build an altar and speak the name of Jesus, because in the power of that name, the world and everything upholds. Do not surrender your nation, our family, your marriage, your children, to anything else. Give thanks to God for this atmosphere here. Thank God for these elders, these pastors. Thank you, God, for brothers and sisters that care about us. Surround yourself. Protect the atmosphere where Jesus is lifted up. If you don't have one, build one. Worship Him in your home. Let your prayers arise in the midst of where nothing is, or where darkness are trying to push away that sovereignty of sovereign divine glue. You remember Mark chapter 4. Jesus, He sent the disciples to the other side, and Mark says that they grabbed Jesus as He was. That for me, it's a picture of, I don't care how much or what your theology about Jesus. I just want you to believe in Jesus. Let's start there. And let Him be in a reality for you. They just pull Jesus and get in here. So Jesus went to sleep. The disciples, my question is why, 12 disciples at least, why at least one of them were not sleeping there? It will be one of my children, they will be sleeping there with Jesus. They like sleeping. But Jesus went to sleep. Probably they didn't because they saw that big cloud in the horizon. And they saw trouble were coming. And the scriptures tells us that there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the boat in so much that the boat was now filling. And as Jesus was in the stern, asleep on a cushion, they awoke him and said to him, Jesus, teacher, canst thou know that we perish? And Jesus like, you guys, do you really think that a boat where I am in can perish? Really? So you want to end the story of the universe and the dreams of my Father right here? You have no faith. Because Jesus woke and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. You know, in Spanish it says a bonanza. A great calm, like a swimming pool. Quiet. Quiet. And if you study why we have waves, it's not only because of storms, it's because of the rotation of the earth. So the disciples were so amazed. And when the wind ceased, there was a great calm. And he said unto them, why ye fearful? Have ye not have faith? But not faith to stop the storm. Faith of the one who was in the boat. Don't you have faith? Don't you know who was in the boat? Come on, guys. I was before creation. I told the wind, come. I tell the wind to stop. I tell the universe, stop if I need to. I just rebuked the wind and spoke to the waters. I don't know what happened. And they said, who then is this that even wind and sea obey him? I'm just the creator of the world. And then I'm upholding every circumstance and everything on my hand. Well, what do you think that happened when he stood outside of that grave and told Lazarus, come out? Oh, Father, we have a bunch of worms there, Jesus. Actually, there is a decomposition of his body. I uphold everything, and that's going to be compound again. Don't worry. And those decompound cells, number one, the worms started running away. And then the cells started compounding each one into another one. And any damage that was made in any organ in Lazarus' body was compounded and healed. And all of a sudden, the presence of Jesus dragged him. I know that he dragged him because the one who was tied in his hand and his feet came out. How did he come out? Just the presence of Jesus, the light, dragged him out of darkness into the light. I don't know what's going on into your life. You probably think that everything is falling apart. Why don't you speak Jesus? We are a blessed nation. Still, there is a lot of Jesus here in America. Let's protect it. America is the house of God. It's a place for the presence of God. And you have been chosen to carry that light. Can I invite you again, sister, to sing that song I asked for? Let us speak Jesus. Could you stand on your feet? Number one, thank him for Jesus. You probably don't feel very spiritual. You are so full of Him. Number two, if you feel that some things are falling apart in your life, all you need to do is just to surrender to Him. Let Him come in. Let His presence show up. Let Him embrace you. Let His name to sound, resonate inside of you. You know, Adam and Eve, when they were hiding from the Lord behind that tree, the Bible says that they heard the steps of God. I wonder how the steps of God sounds. Boom, boom, or maybe soft. He makes noises. Let the devil hear those noises. He's so scared of them because he knows when Jesus shows up, he's over.